start our first session of the day 3 Atal FDP. It's my privilege to introduce our first research person of day 3 of AICTE Atal FDP, Dr. Rajiv Dhaiya sir. Dr. Rajiv Dhaiya, presently in the position of Director, School of Pharmacy, Faculty of Medical Science, the University of West Indies. He did DSc, Doctor of Science in Clinical Pharmacology from International University of Complementary Medicine, Colombo, Sri Lanka, and PhD in Pharmacy by Uttar Pradesh Technical University, Lucknow, India. He is the President of Association of Pharmacy Professionals, APP, and Editor-in-Chief of reputed pharmaceutical journal of international level, Bulletin of Pharmaceutical Research. His research area is synthetic peptide chemistry and currently working on synthesis of cyclopeptide isolated from natural resources and peptide derivative heterocyclic congeners like benzimidazole furan. Until now, he has above 70 publications in peer-reviewed articles in various peer-reviewed international and national journals with impact factor and 5 book chapters with Spingers, Elsevier, Taylor, and Francis. He has been invited 23 times as guest speaker in various conferences, including 37 oration and 105 poster presentation. Dr. Dhaiya is honored with Most Productive Researcher Award in March 2019 on the occasion of FMS Research Day by Dean, Faculty of Medical Science, the University of West Indies. Dr. Dhaiya has supervised or co-supervised more than 20 MPharm projects for PhD projects. He is the reviewer of the various Q1, Q2 best quartile journals with good impact factor and fellow or life member of various national and international pharmaceutical associations. So let's welcome Dr. Dhaiya for the first research portion of the day 3 Atal FDP. Dr. Dhaiya, we will deliver his speak on the topic natural cyclopeptide molecules with potential bioproperties. Sir, our participants are eagerly waiting for your lecture. Now, I will make you host for this session so that you can share your presentation. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vandana. So my screen is visible to all?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay. So first of all, thanks for inviting me on this FDP platform to share my views on my expertise, natural cyclopolypeptides, molecules with potential bioproperties. Although I'm not a nanotechnology person, I'm a medicinal chemist whose active research area is peptide synthesis and their biological evaluation. But I will deviate something towards green synthesis, which will relate to the topic. But majority of my presentation will be on different categories of peptides, their chemistry and isolation and synthesis, what we are doing what we have done in India as well as we are doing in West Indies. So presently, as Madam said, I'm Director of School of Pharmacy, Faculty of Medical Science, University of West Indies, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Group Leader and Principal Investigator of Laboratory of Peptide Research and Development here. Okay, so I will start from the simple chemistry as whole thing is related to peptide. So starting from the ABCD peptide bond. Peptide bond is a amide bond, which is a covalent category of chemical bond, and it generally is formed between two molecules like amino acids, in which there is presence of both amino and the carboxyl group. So reaction happens between the amino group of one amino acid and carboxyl group of the another amino acid, and it is a condensation type of reaction where water molecule is released, as is indicated by the lower reaction. It is the general peptide dipeptide synthesis strategy, where how a single peptide bond is formed. If we will further extend this to a peptide chain, so a group of three peptides, three amino acids can come together and result in formation of the two bonds. Same reaction, condensation reaction, release of water molecule, and as you are seeing, so there will be formation of the CONH bond. And similarly, in the right corner, we have shown how four amino acid molecules approach together to form three peptide bonds, and result is a tetrapeptide. So this is a sequence of peptide chain. We work on, first we synthesize the linear peptides, and then we go for cyclization. So I generally work on natural polypeptide molecules. So the base is here. History of peptides. We know, we know about insulin. It is isolated from canine and bovine pancreata in 1920s. Then ACTH 1950s, which is isolated from the same source. Calcitonin 1971. Synthetic oxytocin and vasopressin in 1962, and synthetic analogues of somatostatin and gonadorelin, which are octreolide and leuprolin in 1988 and 84 respectively. And these are the years when those were introduced in the clinic. So variation in amino acid, if we'll start from the simple amino acid glycine, so structure is here, it is the simplest amino acid with one amino group and one carboxyl group with CH2 moiety in between. So there are modified amino acids which may be part of a linear chain or a cyclic chain like isoserine, dihydrohomoalanine. Alanine is normal amino acid, but the derivative dihydrohomoalanine is modified one, DHA. Like phenylalanine is normal amino acid, but beta-hydroxy parabromo is the modified amino acid. So such type of modified amino acids are part of cyclic peptide or the linear peptide big chains. Chloroisoleucine, this is halogenated amino acid. Then proline is simplest amino acid, simplest amino acid, and 3-hydroxy 3-methyl proline can be seen in different structures. Here is the first cyclic peptide from the literature, which is an antifungal cyclic depsipeptide, cyclolithistid A. It has presence of a halogenated amino acid chloroisoleucine, which is here, and formyl leucine, which is here, and it is a cyclic peptide molecule. So as we will move in the slides, I will show you how to form a linear chain and then how to cyclize that linear chain in the form of a cyclic peptide. N-methylation, it is another technique which generally modulates the biological, structural and the pharmacokinetic properties of peptides. So some of the N-methylated peptides are seglitide, hirsutide, persipeptide and codiheptapeptide. So here we have shown the structure of seglitide and hirsutide. Among these, hirsutide is synthesized in our laboratory, and in seglitide you can see the presence of N-methylalanine. This person is N-methylalanine, and N-methylphenylalanine moiety can be seen here in the hirsutide structure. N-methylphenylalanine, two moieties are there, and this is the point of breakage where we hypothetically break the cyclic peptide to synthesize in the laboratory, because these are the natural peptide molecules. And 1 minute. And this research was published in Montasch-Chem in 2009 by our group. Another N-methylated amino acid moieties or cyclopeptide moieties are persipeptide B and codiheptapeptide A. Here you can see the presence of aromatic N-methylated amino acids. This is N-methyl phenylalanine, here N-methyl tyrosine, and here N-methyl phenylalanine. In codiheptapeptide A, the N-methyl phenylalanine is with the D configuration, and N-methyl tyrosine is in L configuration. Another N-methylated moiety present are not aromatic, those are aliphatic, like N-methyl valine and N-methyl glycine. So among these two, we have synthesized codiheptapeptide A in our laboratory, and paper was published in Molecules Journal in 2017. So these are the point of breakage where, like, this compound is a heptapeptide. Heptapeptide means with 7 amino acid moieties. So we need to break it into 3 dipeptides and 1 amino acid methyl ester hydrochloride. So these are the point of breakage, and then we reassemble it. 2 dipeptides can be coupled to a tetrapeptide, and a di and a mono amino acid methyl hydrochloride can be coupled together to a tripeptide, and then a tri and tetra will form hepta, and hepta will finally cyclize to form the natural compound. So like that, the process continues. In addition to N-methylated moieties, there may be the presence of unique acidic moieties. Like here is the structure of a compound, or this is not a cyclic compound, this is a linear compound. So, and this is isolated from marine bacterium Thalassospora species. Here you can see presence of the acidic moieties, which are in actual gamma amino acids like AHPEA and ADPA. So AHPA is here, ADPA is this moiety, and those abbreviations stands for 4-amino-5-hydroxy penta-2-enoic acid and 4-amino-3,5-dihydroxy pentanoic acid. So these type of moieties are rare in the cyclic peptides. So I have cited the examples here. Okay. Heterocyclic moieties can also be the part of the cyclic peptide structures. So I given you 2 examples, nostocyclamide and petalamides. So which type of heterocyclic moieties are expected in the cyclic peptide? Those are thiazoles, oxazoles, oxazolines. These may, like not thiazole, but oxazole and oxazoline may be in their methylated form. So if we will go through the below structures, see, these two are thiazole moieties, and along with other thiazole moieties in petalamides A and C are shown in the red color. Then here is the oxazole moiety. It is methylated form of oxazole, methyl oxazole. Here is the oxazoline moiety. And these 3 are the methyl oxazoline moieties. So like that, oxazoline, methyl oxazoline, oxazole, methyl oxazole, and thiazole. These heterocycles can be part of a cyclic ring, which is a cyclic peptide. So, and the examples are like nostocyclamide. This structure belongs to nostocyclamide, and these 2 structures are belong to petalamides. In general, the heterocyclic amino acids have the presence of the heterocyclic amino acids. The specific heterocyclic amino acid are histidine with a imidazole ring, and tryptophan with a indole ring. There is another amino acid which comes under heterocyclic, which is not actually heterocyclic. It is a heterocyclic amino acid, not amino acid. We can't say it aromatic. So below 5 structures, here the presence of these heterocyclic amino acid moieties can be seen. So green arrows all indicates the proline amino acid moiety present in the cyclic peptide structures. So in the 4 structures, and you are saying here the peptide in the peptide chain proline can be in the cis form or the trans form, and it affects the bioactivity. Then there is presence of histidine moiety in stylistatin B. This is a heterocyclic amino acid. And then there is presence of tryptophan amino acid in the sagittallin A, sagittallin B, and sarcodactylamide. Out of these peptides, in our laboratory, we have already synthesized cyclotetrapeptide molecule, which is naturally isolated, as well as the sarcodactylamide. And these research are published in Chinese Journal of Chemistry and Journal of Zhejiang University Science B in 2011 and 2008 respectively. Here is one of the review we have published with the marine drugs, and here we can see different type of molecules with different moieties. So first category of molecules are with proline and with 2 or more proline moieties, and those are in the trans conformation. So in these molecules, 1, 2, 3, 4, which are facalistatin 15, cartaritin A, raninochalistatin E, stylisamide X, and axinelin C. In all the 5 cyclic peptide structures, there are presence of more than 2 or more proline units with trans conformation. Then second category of compound are compounds facalistatin 18, urgenicin G, urgenicin A, and urgenicin C. So here you are clearly seeing there are presence of 2 or more proline units, but both the units are in cis configuration. As I have already said, this type of configurational change results in change in bioactivity. It may modify the activity too long. And even in the literature, we have seen the example of cyclopeptides where a compound with cis geometry was associated with one activity, and with trans geometry, it was devoid of activity. So this was second category of compound, and third category of compound belongs to molecules like raniochalistatin A, urgenicin B, cartaritin B, then dominicin, and urgenicin F. In these 5 compounds, you can see there is a mixed configurational approaches. Like if there are 3 proline units, 1 in cis configuration, 2 are in trans. So there is a mixed type of configuration. Here in this compound, cartaritin B, you can clearly see there are 2 proline units, 1 in trans and another in cis. So these are mixed configuration compound, proline containing compounds, and are bioactive. Fourth category is containing the heterocyclic moieties. Out of these 5 compounds, 4 are represented by blue or grayish circle. Those are with heterocyclic moiety tryptophan, which are axinelin B, facalistatin 17, axinostatin 4, and ceramide A. And one compound, vanunamide, is with the heterocyclic moiety histidine. So and all these are natural cyclopeptide molecules which are isolated from the natural resources. So you can see the difference in the structure along with, and as the structure will vary, biological activity will also vary. So this paper was published in collaboration with Wuhan University in 2016 in Marine Drug Journal. Okay, we move to the next moieties. So there may be isoserine, presence of isoserine, dihydrohomoalanine, and tryptophan, substituted tryptophan moieties. Like there may be presence of hydroxytryptophan, bromotryptophan, or bromohydroxytryptophan. So here I have cited some of the examples. Tolibecidins A and B, which are cyclic tridecapeptides. In those, dihydrohomoalanine moiety can be seen. I have not shown the structure of those. Kiramamide B, there is maybe presence of the bromohydroxytryptophan. So here is the bromohydroxytryptophan moiety in the kiramamide B. Then there are cytotoxic peptides, kiramamide F to K. So we have shown the kiramamide F, where isoserine moiety can be seen. This is isoserine. And finally, there are calexamides where hydroxytryptophan moiety is present. So this is the hydroxytryptophan moiety. And in calexamide, you can see also the heterocyclic moiety, thiazole. Okay, now we have seen some of the cyclic structures. The structures can be linear or cyclic, although both have the biological potential. But in certain criteria, cyclic peptides are preferred over the linear peptides. And even in cyclic, you may see the another variety, bicyclic peptides, which are with 2 cycles. So here you can see some of the examples of linear peptides: TRH, thyrotropin releasing hormone; leopeptin, which is a protease inhibitor; and glutathione, which is a antioxidant. So all 3 are linear chains. So this is one category. Then next is this is a cyclic peptide with a linear tail, and ADH, which ADH, antidiuretic hormone, which is also known by the name of vasopressin. So here you can see it is a cyclic hexapeptide with a tripeptide side chain. So this is the linear portion, this is the cyclic portion. So you can categorize as a mixed type of compound. Here we have one of the oldest antibiotic, gramicidin S, which is peptide in nature. It is composed of 10 amino acids. So it is a cyclic decapeptide, which is effective against some form of gram-positive, gram-negative bacteria and also some fungi. And it is produced from a gram-positive bacterium. So here you can see different type of moieties they have shown in the colored, like this DL are the stereochemical configurational terms, and this is the DP phenylalanine portion. If you study the SAR of this compound, this DPHC, diphenylalanine, can be subjected to change. So it can be replaced with the other moieties like tyrosine, and especially the substitution with D-tyrosine result in increase of antimicrobial nature or antibacterial properties. Then see the last category of compound. This is moroidin. It is an anti-tumor compound and it is a bicyclic peptide. So this is one ring and this is another ring. And also there are, you can't say it's side chain, but it is single amino acid, so it is just amino acid. So, but there are two cycles. So here you can see three amino acid: beta leucine, tryptophan, and histidine. These are connected together with two unusual bonds, which are making them or separating them into the 2-bicycle. And this compound is anti-tumor in nature, and it acts by inhibition of tubulin polymerization. It is a natural compound. So now some of the isolation sources where these are found. So first is marine sponges. So Jaspis species, Hymenyacidon species, Microscleroderma species, Discoderma species, and Thionella species. These are rich in cyclic peptides. Marine mollusks like Elysia rufescens. This is rich in cyclopeptides. So here is one of the example of cyclic peptide, hymenamide, which was synthesized by our research group and published in Acta Pharmaceutica in 2006. This was one of my MPhom project paper thesis. And this particular compound is isolated from marine sponge Hymenyacidon species. It is antifungal in nature. Then other sources are cyanobacteria, example being Tolipothrix, then Hassailia species, hypomycetes like Claveriopsis aquatica, and fungi, bacteria, and plants. So among plants, Pseudostellaria and the Dianthus species are main. So from the Dianthus superbus species, Dianthus A has been isolated and it was synthesized by our research group and got published in chemical papers in 2008. This bush is Dianthus superbus, from which this cyclopeptide is isolated. And this is basically a cyclic hexapeptide with two aromatic moiety, which are tyrosine and phenylalanine. The next section is bioactivity of peptides. Peptides are, especially cyclic peptide, if we talk, these are associated with large number of activities, but the dominating activity is cytotoxic activity or cytotoxicity against various cell lines. Examples are cyclooxazoline, stylostatin, discodermins, pacalistatins, sagatallins, samocylonins, and stylisins. So here I will give you three examples among the stylisins, samocylinin, and sagatallins, which are already synthesized in our laboratory. First is stylisin 1, which is isolated from marine sponge Stylisa caribica. This got published in ChemFumbul in 2009. Second compound is samocylinin A, which is isolated from roots of the higher plant Samocylin tunicoides. And this was synthesized in our laboratory and research got published in Archive der Pharmacie in 2008. The third compound is sagatallin E, which is isolated from the seeds of higher plant Vassaria sagatalis. And this research got published in Archpharm Reg, Archives of Pharmacal Research, which is the publication of Pharmaceutical Society of Korea in 2007. And this particular paper is one of my MPhom student research work while I was working in Mathura. So continuation of bioactivity. The anti-HIV activity can be associated with the cyclic peptide molecules like serpulins, indolicidin, and calipeltins. So here you can see the structure of calipeltin, which is a cyclic depsib decapeptide. Decapeptide means presence of 10 amino acid units, and it is isolated from a marine sponge. This COO moiety. Presence of this particular moiety characterize them as DEPC peptides. Second is indolicidin, which is a tridecapeptide from neutrophils. It appears to be a linear peptide with multiple heterocyclic tryptophan amino acid units. 5 units can be seen. Cyclic peptides are also associated with the immunosuppressive activity. So cyclolinopeptides and skinabipeptide are the examples of these compounds. So here is the structure of cyclolinopeptide, which is a cyclic nonapeptide compound with 9 amino acid units, out of which 2 are aromatic, phenylalanine 1, and this is isolated from flaxseed. So here this particular moiety is DEPC, is indication of DEPC peptide. So antifungal activity against Candida and the Cryptococcus species is seen for the cyclopeptide compounds, and some of the examples are cited here: Jasplaquinolide and halolitoralins, aceclitins and tolibicidins, hymenamides, rhodopeptins. So here is one example of hymenamides and halolitoralin. So it is halolitoralin A, which is isolated from the bacterial strain Halobacillus litoralis of marine origin, and this is already synthesized in our laboratory and got published in Journal of Serbian Chemical Society in 2007. So another cyclic peptide is hymenamide, hymenamide E, isolated from marine sponge Hymeniacidon species, and it is also already synthesized in our laboratory, and research got published in Acta Pharmaceutica in 2006. Anti-dermatophyte activity. Cyclopeptides are associated with trichophyton, beta-grophytes, and anti-dermatophyte activity against the dermatophytes, trichophyton and the microsporum species. Sagetelin C, stylissamide G, and codiheptapeptide B are the classical example with of cyclopeptides with anti-dermatophyte potential. So here are the examples: Sagetelin C from seeds of higher plant Vesseria sagetalis. This research is published in Argenimetal Forschung in 2008. Then stylissamide G from marine sponge Stylisa caribica. This research published in Marine Drugs in 2016. So peptides are also associated with anti-malarial activity. So here are some of the examples: carmabin, then dragomabin, dragonamide A, and balgacyclamides. So upper 3 compounds, these belong to linear chains. These are not cyclic. I think this first one is a mixed linear with a cyclic with a linear tail, and these dragonamides and dragomabin, these both are linear chains. Although balgacyclamides A and B belongs to cyclopeptide category, and here you can see these bears a lot of heterocyclic moiety, thiazole and methyl oxazoline. The only change in the structure of these balgacyclamide is in the balgacyclamide B is a threonine moiety. So threonine moiety is cyclized into a methyl oxazoline ring in balgacyclamide A, and these are associated with the anti-malarial, mainly anti-plasmodial activity, and this affects the activity, modifies it. Antibacterial activity. The peptides with antibacterial activity examples are stylisin 2, cherimola cyclopeptide G, and virucamides and others. stylicin 2, and Cherimola cyclopeptide G, which are isolated from the Jamaican sponge Stylicia caribica as well as the seeds of plant Anoda cherimola. And these got published in Marine Drug Journal in 2010 and Turkish Journal Chemistry in 2008. And enthelmintic activity. These compounds were found to be active against earthworm species like Megascopolex, Pontoscotex, and Euryalus. So we have synthesized Mafacycline A and Podocycline B, which are isolated from the latex of Jatropha mafanensis and latex of Jatropha podagrica. And the respective research is published in Chinese Journal of Chemistry and the Journal of Iranian Chemical Society 2016 and 2008 respectively. Other bioactivities of cyclopeptides include tyrosine inhibitory activity, cyclooxygenase inhibitory activity, antimycobacterial activity, and anti-ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme activity, anti-renin activity, and respective examples I have cited. Although mostly mechanism of action of these cyclopeptide is unknown, but those which is known and category wise we could able to summarize. These can act as cytotoxic, antifungal, and antibacterial by different mechanism. As cytotoxic, the mechanism involved is induction of apoptosis, which is nothing but the programmed cell death, and binding of IFG1 receptor, which is highly tyrosine phosphorylated, is found to be involved. Again, antagonism of PGP and MRP1. These are another vital mechanism of cytotoxic cyclic peptides. In terms of antifungal activity, these acts by mechanism involving inhibition of cell wall biosynthesis. Here, in particular, inhibition of the enzyme beta-1,3-D-glucan synthase is involved, and this particular enzyme forms stabilizing glucan polymers in fungal cell wall. Another target enzyme can be IPC synthase, which is necessary for the fungal sphingolipid biosynthesis. In terms of antibacterial, which is widely studied, the mechanism involved is interference with the cytoplasmic membrane barrier, and there is found to be inhibition of transfer of peptidoglycan precursor to bactoprenol pyrophosphate. So I have some figures which can demonstrate this mechanism to some level here. So cyclic peptides, there are two stages, either cyclic peptide inside the cell, cyclic peptides outside the membrane. So how outside the membrane it is operating? It is binding to LPS. So what is LPS? LPS is here, it is lipopolysaccharide, which is actually endotoxin and found in the outer membrane of gram-negative bacteria. It is mainly composed of lipid and the sugary part. So cyclic peptide bind to this LPS and disrupts the outer membrane. So that is the mechanism involved when it is outside. But if it is inside, then three type of things are involved: derangement of the cell membrane. So here it is shown, increase in the permeability of cell envelope, and finally leakage of cell contents, and which is resulting in cell death. So this one more slide is there. Yes, you can see this. Here cyclopeptide, these bind with the bactoprenol. So what is bactoprenol? Bactoprenol is having this structure, and it is a hydrophobic alcohol which plays an important role in the growth of cell walls in gram-positive bacteria. So cyclopeptide forms a complex with bactoprenol. Here in the lower portion you are seeing some NAM, NAG, which are actually peptidoglycan, N-acetyl glucosamine and N-acetyl muramic acid. which forms the peptidoglycan layer, and this particular link is beta-1,4 glycosidic bond. So, so we were at the stage cyclic peptide forms a complex with bactoprenol. There will be interference with the dephosphorylation, and finally it will stunt formation of bacterial cell wall. So these were the possible demonstration of mechanism of action when those are dealing with the gram-positive and the gram-negative bacteria. So this is one of the topic where peptides are emerging as a good alternative to small synthetic molecules. So what are the concerned advantages? Compared to, first one is compared to small synthetic molecules, peptide poses less toxicity because they would not accumulate in the organs. Peptide drugs can be less harmful, and after acting on target molecules, as they will disappear rapidly by the proteolytic degradation. As you know, amino acid bond is a peptide bond is a weak bond. It will degrade. That the degradation products are simple amino acids which have no cytotoxicity or toxicity. Sorry. Then peptides can work on their targets very selectively. So selectivity is another property associated with the peptide molecules, as the interaction with the target is very specific compared to the small molecule. So with these three properties, these can act as a good alternative over the small synthetic molecules with more side effects. If we compare the linear and the cyclic counterparts, so as earlier I have discussed that cyclic peptides are always preferred over linear peptides, although both are involved with the or are associated with the biological properties. And the reason for the dominance is, first one, there is inherent flexibility of linear peptides lead to different conformation. So if there will be different conformations, they will be bind to more than one receptor molecules, and which will result in the undesirable adverse effect. And like it is something related to the lock and key mechanism. One lock, one key can easily open. So one receptor, one ligand, they can bind easily to give a proper biological response. But in case of many receptors or so then it will be difficult. Second is cyclization of peptide actually reduces the degree of freedom of each constituent within the ring, which leads to reduced flexibility, increased potency, and selectivity of these type of congeners. Another benefit of cyclic structure is resistance to hydrolysis by exopeptidases due to lack of both amino and carboxyl terminal, which are usually present in the linear chain. So they are more exposed to exopeptidases and liable to hydrolysis reaction in comparison to the cyclopeptide molecules. Cyclopeptides in clinical trials. So cyclopeptides combine several favorable properties, which are good binding affinity, target selectivity, and low toxicity. So these make them attractive modality for the development of therapeutics. Over 40 cyclic peptide drugs are currently in clinical use. This data is a little bit old. I have updated in the later slides. And this average is good. Around one new cyclic peptide drug enters the market every year on an average after passing the trials. Approximate 140 peptide therapeutics are currently being evaluated in clinical trials. This is also updated. Here by this table, you can easily see cyclic peptide antibacterial drugs which are approved by FDA, like vancin category, telavancin, dalbavancin, and ortivancin, which are indicated mainly for the skin infections and which act as bacterial cell wall synthesis inhibitors. These are administered through IV infusion, and these are the company which have made these doses. And others are for fungal infection we have anidulafungin and POL 7080, which is in phase 2. And in later slide I updated the data. Now it is in phase 3. It has passed phase 2, and this is highly specific toward the gram-negative bacteria Pseudomonas aeruginosa infections. Here you can see the structure of those. This is the IV infusion of telavancin, and this is IV infusion of oritavancin. These are the respective structure. Here lower structure belong to POL 7080, which is also known as muripavidin, and it has successfully completed phase 2 clinical trials in hospital-acquired Pseudomonas infections. Some of the other approved peptide-based drugs, along with their trade name and disease target and companies, like TIDE category, compounds ending with the suffix TIDE, teriparatide, which is for osteoporosis, exenatide for type 2 diabetes, and along with liraglutide and pramlintide and lanreotide for growth disorders, enfuvirtide for HIV infection, giconotide for pain, then mifamurtide for bone cancer, neziritide for heart failure. So all are peptide-based drugs which are already available in the market for treating different type of conditions. These peptides can be found in clinics like bacitracin in topical form, bacitracin ointment. It interferes with cell wall synthesis, polymyxin B and cell membrane disruptor, which is available in IV form. Here is the IV injection. Gramicidin S topical, vancomycin, which is a glycopeptide, then daptomycin IV, which is a lipopeptide, and finally a immunosuppressive cyclosporin A, which is available in suspension, emulsion, and soft gelatin capsule, and which acts by lowering activity of T cells. Peptide drug market. See from the lower graph, it can be easily seen US peptide therapeutic market size by drug type. Whether the drug is generic or innovative from 2014 to 2025. It is in the USD billion. Like starting from 2014, 8.1, this is the increase in market size, 2015, 8.7, and the graph goes here up to 2025. Here are some of the examples which have which belong to peptide category and has attracted more sales in the past years, like Lupron TM. It is peptide-based medicine from Abbott, and for the condition of prostate cancer, and it has achieved global sales of more than $2.3 billion in 2011. Another drug is Lantus from Sanofi, which is a borderline molecule between peptide and a small biopharmaceutical. Its sale reached $7.9 million in 2013. Some of the other drugs in the last years, like 2011, the global peptide drug market has predicted to increase $14.2 billion. And since 2018, it was estimated up to $25.4 billion, with an underlying increase in the novel innovative peptide drugs alone from US dollar 8.6 billion to in 2011 to US dollar 17 billion 66. So how peptides, why peptide research is important, that is a clear parameter. Then the research in glucagon-like peptide 1, which is GLP-1 agonist for type 2 diabetes, the drug related to that, Victoza, which is most prominent member of the class, reaching the blockbuster status with reaching a total sale of over US 2.6 billion in 2013. So this is the latest survey from Global Peptide Therapeutic Market and Clinical Pipeline Insight 2016 report highlights, which replaces my earlier slide where update was required. So global peptide therapeutic market opportunities for US dollar 65 billion alone. Out of this global peptide market, cancer peptide therapeutic market opportunities for US dollar 22 billion. Peptide drugs in clinical trial claims 807 peptide drugs, and in patent and clinical 197 marketed peptides. Along with, if we compare different categories of peptides, so cyclic peptides are dominated in the peptide clinical pipeline with 46 in number. So I think we can take a break because now the synthesis part will start. It is different from the earlier. So how much time I taken till now? Excuse? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can take a small break. How much time we have taken up till now?
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can take 5 minutes break.
Okay, because this topic is now a little bit separate from the earlier one.
Okay.
Maybe I may be, so how much time I taken?
So it took around 1 hour. More 1 hour is there.
Okay, so I will try to complete it fast so that a discussion time will be there. Okay, so we can take a break.
Okay.
You can tell me when to start.
Sir, after 5 minutes we can start again.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Participants, we are giving this attendance link in the chat box because we have 5 minutes break now. So you can put your attendance and submit it. Thank you. Sir, please continue. Sir, please unmute yourself and continue.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm audible?
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay. So are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we will move in the second part of the presentation, which will be short than the first one. So here I will move toward how specifically we synthesize the cyclopeptide molecules in the laboratory. So before carry out the synthesis, we generally works on the SWOT analysis, which stands for S strength, W weakness, O opportunities, and T threats. So what the compound or what the we have to synthesize, or what the project we have chosen, what are the strengths for that, like selectivity and potency, shorter time to market, standard synthetic protocols. Then what will be the weakness, like chemical and physically instability, tendency for aggregation, short half-life, fast elimination. Opportunities like discovery of new peptides, including protein fragmentation, formulation development, multifunctional peptides and conjugates, and threats, which are immunogenicity, new advancement in genomics, proteomics, and personalized medicine, and increased safety efficacy requirement for the novel drug. So such all parameters we take into account before selecting the project. So here is two basic reactions which are involved in the before carrying out the synthesis of cyclopolypeptide, which are protection and deprotection of the free amino and the carboxyl groups. Without these, we can't proceed further, because every amino acid has one free amino group and one free carboxyl group. And to couple one amino acid with the another, we need to protect one amino acid carboxyl group and another amino acid amino group to carry out the coupling. And after that, it will result in the formation of a dipeptide, and then the same thing will happen in the next chain, that we have to deprotect that dipeptide at one end, and second end we have to keep it protected. So here in the first reaction, you can see how the NH2 group is protected, amino group. It is protected by means of BOC, tertiary butyl oxycarbonyl. So the reaction happens at room temperature for 2 hours in solvent like isopropanol, sodium hydroxide, and BOC anhydride. And the reverse reaction of deprotection is feasible in the presence of TFA, trifluoroacetic acid. So you will get the free amino group again. Similarly, the second reaction, carboxyl group can be protected by means of methylation in the presence of thionyl chloride as catalyst and methanol, refluxing 8 to 10 hours. And the reverse reaction, that means demethylation or formation of the free acid compound with free acid group, is possible by means of alkaline hydrolysis with lithium hydroxide. So this is the reverse reaction. So these four reactions we have to keep in mind to move, because the chain may be, or the compound may be a tripeptide, tetra, octa, deca, and likewise. So we have to move in a sequence with proper deprotection and the protection reactions. So these procedures can be taken if anybody carries out the research from the research published in 2006 in Acta Pharmaceutica. These procedures are mentioned. And in Archived Pharmacy published in 2008. Okay, what is the possible mechanism involved in BOC protection of free amino group? Here you can see the 3 steps are involved, which are: first, the amine attacks a carbonyl site. on ditert butyl dicarbonate, which is our reagent anhydride, from which the Boc group is attaching to the amino group, which is resulting in tert butyl carbonate leaving as a leaving group. So here, this is the amine which is attacking on carbonyl site, and this is the leaving group here. And tert butyl carbonate picks up the protons from the protonated amine. So from here, it takes the proton, and tert butyl bicarbonate breaks down into carbon dioxide and tert butanol, which is shown here. These two are the product. So this is our final compound. One of the H is replaced by the Boc group. So this is protected. Now, any coupling can't interfere with this H because it is already secondary now, converted from primary to secondary. So, how the Boc deprotection mechanism is there? Here, the tertiary butyl carbamate becomes protonated. Here is the protonation. Loss of tert butyl cation results in carbamic acid. Decarboxylation of the carbamic acid results in the free amine. Here is the free amine. Protonation of the amine under acidic condition provides the product as the TFA salt. So this is that TFA salt, CF3, trifluoroacetic acid salt. Boc is not the only one reagent which can be used for the protection of the amino group. There is more superior agents are available like FMOC. So Boc stands for tert butyl oxycarbonyl, which is indicated in blue here, which is attached to the one of the hydrogen atom of amino group of a glycine moiety. Here FMOC is fluorinyl methyl oxycarbonyl. So this group will get attached. So in the below I have seen FMOC glycine. So this person OCH2 and this one. This is the FMOC person. So this is the alternative to Boc, but if you compare the prices, it is more costly, more less available, and because I'm a solution phase synthesis expert, this is more frequently employed in solid phase. So those are the parameters. You have to select the reagents according to what you are going to synthesize and what is the availability of funds and how your lab is set up according to which technique. Then CBZ is the old one, which is utilized in old times for the protection of amino group, and it can be removed by catalytic hydrogenation with hydrogen bromide. Here FMOC, how it can be removed? By base like piperidine. And Boc group already we have discussed, it can be removed by TFA, trifluoroacetic acid. Coupling agents, most commonly used coupling agent for peptide synthesis. Once your compound is ready, that two amino acid, one is deprotected at amino group, protected at amino group, and another is protected at carboxyl group. Then we need a coupling agent to carry out the reaction. So the most frequent used coupling agent is DCC, and that's dicyclohexyl carbonamide. So using carbonamide chemistry, we can carry out the peptide synthesis. Another available carbonamides are EDC, which is ethyl dimethyl aminopropyl carbonamide, and DIC, diisopropyl carbonamide. Even we can compare our result in the presence of different coupling agents. So we generally utilize one or two carbonamides to carry out the same reaction and compare the results or the yields with which we can get more. So this can be taken from the our research published in Journal of Saudi Chemical Society in 2006. Okay, coupling mechanism. What is happening in the coupling? This is our BOK compound and this is our amino acid. So it activates the amino acid by DCC, converting O negative of amino acids carboxylate group into better leaving group. So this group is replaced by a better leaving group. So here you can see attack of the amino group of other amino acid to the carboxyl carbon of activated amino acid. So here, then finally it results in formation of peptide bond, and what is the side product? DCU, dicyclohexylurea, which can be easily removed by filtration. The main problem sometimes we encounter is racemization. Because if you are not carrying out the reaction in controlled condition and specifically as per the condition, then there is chances of racemization. So what is racemization? Instead of forming a double bond, there may be a oxazole ring formation like that I have shown. In the coupling reaction only, this oxazole, instead of a dipeptide bond, the bonds will rearrange to form the cyclic ring oxazolone, so we need to add some sort of racemization suppressing agent. So slow and tedious procedures are required to build up peptide chains without racemization. We have compared sometimes the results without adding the racemization, but sometimes when you will take the spectra of the dipeptide or the compound, you will easily know whether the amide 1 or amide 2 bands are there, or there are bands due to the cyclic ring. So we need to add to a racemization suppressing agent, although we can carry out without adding in controlled conditions. So which racemization suppressing agents are effective? Most commonly used is HOPT, 1-hydroxybenzotriazole, but N-hydroxysuccinimide and DMAP, dimethylaminopyridine, is also available for use as racemization suppressing agent during the peptide coupling. This data can be obtained from our publication, Chinese Journal of Chemistry in 2011. Okay, formation of activated ester. So how this HOPT act? So here is the HOPT, where a dipeptide coupling happens. So it is bonded to the O portion here, and when second amino acid with free NH2 group is available, you will get a dipeptide bond because it is activated ester and it will prevent the formation of oxazole. Here I have shown a specific example of a heptapeptide gypsum D, which we have carried out in our laboratory. So it was a heptapeptide. So we hypothetically broke down the heptapeptide molecule into three dipeptides, which are 1, 3, and 4. So one is BOK, tryptophenyl proline methyl ester. So it is a dipeptide which is protected at both the carboxyl and amino end. At amino end with the BOK group and at carboxyl group with methyl esteric acid. The second is BOK glycyl ceryl methyl ester. So again, it is protected at the both ends. Third is BOK ceryl lucyl methyl ester, protected at both ends. And our fourth molecule is a amino acid methyl ester hydrochloride, which is glycine. So, because a natural compound was a heptapeptide, so this was hypothetically broken down in 3 dipeptide and 1 amino acid methyl ester hydrochloride unit. Then one dipeptide and one methyl ester hydrochloride, these were coupled together after proper deprotection. So this, because this amino acid methyl ester hydrochloride is already deprotected at the carboxyl end. So its NH2 group is free. So we need the COH free in the dipeptide. So we have no need to deprotect the dipeptide at the amino end. We will deprotect here by alkaline hydrolysis with the lithium hydroxide, and we will get a free acid whose name will be BOC tryptophenyl proline acid, not proline ester. And that compound will be coupled with this amino acid methyl ester hydrochloride in the presence of coupling agent, which is here either DIPC or DCC, and we will get the coupled compound tripeptide, which is protected at both ends. BOC tryptophenyl prolyl glycyl methyl ester. Here, the same is the case, but two compounds are dipeptides. So obviously, the coupling of two dipeptides can result in a tetrapeptide because already we got a tripeptide here. So we will deprotect this dipeptide at the carboxyl end by alkaline hydrolysis with lithium hydroxide, and the second dipeptide at the amino end. So removal of BOC group by the treatment with trifluoroacetic acid. And then finally we'll couple in the presence of coupling agent. Result will be the tetrapeptide. So here is our tetrapeptide, BOC, glycyl, seryl, lucyl, methyl ester. Now same condition. What was earlier? We have two peptides, which is one is tripeptide, another is tetrapeptide, and both are protected at both ends. So, but like that coupling can't occur. We have to deprotect the one compound at a carboxyl terminal, another at amino terminal, and same type of coupling reaction will continue until we furnish our required linear chain. And what is our required linear chain? Linear heptapeptide chain. So if we will couple a tri and tetra, we will get our linear chain. So next step is synthesis of linear heptapeptide. So both units, linear tripeptide and the linear tetrapeptide. So it will be deprotected at the carboxyl end, and second unit will be deprotected at the amino end by using TFA, here by using alkaline hydrolysis with lithium hydroxide. Coupling will happen and you will get the linear heptapeptide compound, which is protected at both ends. Okay. So this is our final linear compound. We have no need to carry out more couplings, but we need a cyclization reaction. So cyclization actually happens in 4 steps. So we have the linear compound now in hand. This research is published in American Journal of Scientific Research in 2010. Data can be procured from there. So here is the last step, cyclization of linear heptapeptide unit. So our linear heptapeptide unit is protected at the amino end by BOC group and carboxyl end by the methyl ester. So what are the deprotection steps? First step is deprotection of the linear peptide chain at carboxyl end. So we will choose this as first step. So how will we remove the carboxyl group? By the removal of by the alkaline hydrolysis with lithium hydroxide. That will be our second step. First step. Second step will be replacement of the methyl ester with the para-nitrophenyl or pentafluorophenyl esters. We can choose either one to compare the yield. Sometimes yield with any of the substituted phenyl group will be better. It depends upon the coupling mechanism. So why this ester group is removed with para-nitrophenyl and pentafluorophenyl group? Because these are better leaving group than the methyl group. So by coupling with para-nitrophenol or pentafluorophenol in the presence of coupling agent, we can replace this group. That will be our second step. Third step will be deprotection of the linear peptide chain at amino terminal. Now we will deprotect the BOC group by treatment with trifluoroacetic acid. And the final step will be the cyclization of the linear peptide chain in presence of base. We will keep the final deprotected compound in the presence of different bases. We can use triethylamine and methylmorpholine or pyridine in chloroform, and the period of keeping will be 7 days at 0 degrees Celsius. And finally, cyclization will happen. Compound will be purified and the spectra will be taken. So easily in the spectra you will see that there will be no presence of linear terminals, beds, and other specific beds like due to BOC, due to ester, those all will go if the cyclization is successful. Similarly, here I have shown the cyclization of a N-methylated cyclotetrapeptide. It is just differ only the presence of N-methyl group instead of a NH. So same in 4 steps we can carry out the synthesis of this particular cyclotetrapeptide. This is one of the research done and got published in Montaschem in 2009. So here same we have shown the protected amino group by red arrow and protected carboxyl group by blue arrow. This green arrow represents the N-methyl moieties, N-methyl phenylalanine, N-methyl. So this compound has 2 N-methyl phenylalanine moieties. Here is the fast atom bombardment fragmentation pattern for the heptacyclopeptide. So here, like it is for the cyclopeptide mahafacycline A, you can see there are 4 to 5 clear cleavage points. Like A is indicated by a black breakpoint where cleavage is happening between isoleucine and threonine. So this is isoleucine, this is threonine. In between, if it breaks, so which fragment ions will result? So these are indicated by the black arrow. 284, 383, 530 and 587 peaks belong to this particular breakdown. All fragments due to this particular breakdown will result in these particular peaks. Then another breakage point is cleavage at leucine and isoleucine bond. This is leucine, this is isoleucine. If breaks from here, then it indicated in the red. Okay, this particular is the base peak, which gives us idea about the molecular weight. Okay, third cleavage is cleavage at phenylalanine valine part, which results in other bands. So here I have shown you. You can see this particular fragment pattern also. With the blue, these particular fragment ions are resulting, which you can match from here. Then cleavage at threonine glycine amide bond 11 can happen, and fragments like 385, 484 and 631 are the result of cleavage at threonine glycine. So that indicates that compound is well synthesized, and this base peak also gives us idea about the molecular weight. So these particular peaks at 86, 120, these are due to the ammonium ions of amino acids. So 120 phenylalanine ammonium ion peak is there, 86 due to isoleucine and leucine, 74 for threonine, 72 for valine, and 30 for glycine. And these amino acid units are the part of cyclopeptide mahafacycline A. Like that, we can interpret a mass spectrum of a cyclopolypeptide, and we can get idea about molecular weight and other sequence of attachment of the amino acid units in the cyclic structure. This paper was published in Chinese Journal Chemistry in 2016. The more data can be taken from there. Okay, to summarize, we have our group has synthesized antimicrobial cyclic peptide in 2006, 7, 11, and names are given with the biological activities like hirsutide with antibacterial activity against Pseudomonas aeruginosa, cyclomontanin D, which is a cycloheptapeptide D, and effective against the gram-negative bacteria, hymenamide E, effective against antifungal fungal species Candida albicans. These are some of the enthalmintic peptides which are synthesized in our laboratory and data got published. Sagetelin D, longi, calicinin A, cherimonocyclopeptide G, gypsin D, cyclic tetrapeptide. These are some of the cyclic peptides with cytotoxic activity. Papers are already published in reputed journals. Cherimonocyclopeptide E, sagetelin E, sagetelin C, serpotactylamide. These are some of the cyclic peptides which I researched when I left India and joined the University of West Indies in 2016. These 6 molecules were taken into effect. Up till now, we have synthesized about 50 cyclic peptides and published the data. We are using the solution phase technique if you compare with the solid phase, which requires use of resin, but we are sticking still on the solution phase, which makes only one product. No extra steps are needed. Workup and purifications, although more difficult, but carried out in a cheap manner. No special setup of lab is required. The amount of product synthesized yields are more. Wide range of reactions can be utilized, and it cannot use large reagent excesses. So here I have shown you a solid phase chart where resin swelling, loading, deprotection, washing, amino acid activation, coupling, washing, and then cleavage and deprotection, isolation and purification, and then final peptide product is formed. This is the SPPS cycle, solid phase peptide synthesis cycle. Since we are talking, and I was seeing on the topic that green synthesis is mentioned, I took some points from the literature, how although our lab is not working toward that, but in the future it will be required. So how the green synthesis of peptides is feasible. Let's take a view of that. So greening of peptide synthesis is nowadays reviewed by various perspectives. So various research groups are working in this area. So SPPS especially is a method of choice for the chemical synthesis of peptides. It allows routine synthesis of virtually any type of peptide sequence. But what is the drawback here? Most of the solvents which we are using in the peptide chemistry are classified as problematic by environmental agencies around the world, and this requires a suitable replacement. So, which is the need of today, and that will make peptide synthesis greener. Either we can replace these environmental dangerous solvents with the environmental friendly solvents, or there are some alternative techniques, alternative synthetic method, which may include, I have listed some: peptide synthesis under solvent free conditions, peptide synthesis in flow, peptide synthesis by fragment ligation, liquid phase and membrane-enhanced peptide synthesis, or SPPS in alternative solvent systems. We generally use the solvent like dichloromethane and DMF, which are not environment friendly. We need a replacement. Nowadays, papers are available for the replacement, but it depends upon in particular reaction how a particular solvent can be substituted by the others. So that we have to carry out the reaction, then only it will be feasible. Along with that, if I want to add something about the nano carriers, so these nanoparticles are also used for the enhancing or modifying the therapeutic significance of peptide molecules. And peptides can degrade, that property can be enhanced. They can stay for more time in the body. And likewise, the things can be done. We can prepare liposomes. We can prepare different nanoparticles, polymeric particles, gold particles, silver particles. So like that approaches can be done, although that will be part of a pharmaceutical technologist. So where a particular collaboration will be required with a medicinal chemist to carry or to reach the project at that stage. So that is, so the topic actually allows my topic to extend the research toward the green synthesis and to synthesize the different nanoparticles of as drug carrier, as peptide drug carrier, like liposomes or silver gold particles. So that will be extension of this project if I merge those techniques with this. So I'll carry further. So we have a laboratory of peptide research and development, which was established in 2016. So we have the ongoing projects. Presently, 3 PhD students are doing PhD in this lab. Synthesis of methylated cyclic peptide we are targeting, and we are studying the effect of N-methylation on biological activity. We are synthesizing some heterocyclic incorporated dipeptide, tripeptide derivatives. We are working on mono dihalogenated and nitrocyclooligopeptides. And obviously, our future project is design of prodrugs by synthesizing amino acid conjugates of drugs like NSAIDs. Our scientific output is one patent, Australian patent on nanoparticle formulation and method for preparation. This we worked in collaboration with AIMST University Malaysia for a polymer, a natural compound. We have written book chapters in collaboration with University of Puerto Rico, USA, which are mostly on nanocarriers. We have 6 to 7 chapters since 2019, which are with the standard publisher like Taylor and Francis, CRC Press, Academic Press, Elsevier, then Springer. We have, since 2016, we have published about 25 to 28 articles which are available on the PubMed. These are some of the specific output, which are peptide specific mainly, from 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, 16. We have collaborations with School of Chemistry, Wuhan University of Technology, Discipline of Pharmacy, University of Technology, Sydney, Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences, USF College of Pharmacy, University of South Florida, USA, Bernard J. Dunn School of Pharmacy, Senado University, Fairfax, USA, Faculty of Pharmacy, AIMST University, Kedah, Malaysia, School of Pharmacy, University of Gondar, Ethiopia, and Department of Pharmacy, Bolega University, Ethiopia. In India, where my past research scholars were there from Mewar University, Rajasthan, Jaipur National University, Jagatpura, Jaipur, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, Haryana. These are some of the collaboration of the lab. Instead of doing research, I want to share some of the features about Trinidad and Tobago here. I'm director of a school where the course is BSc Pharmacy. It is a 4-year course which is clinical oriented. So generally the pass out student go and consume in the market as the hospital or community pharmacist or in the retail pharmacies. So I have to mold myself toward the clinical role. So we used to visit a lot in the community pharmacies on the world famous days like World Malaria Day, World Cancer Day, and here are some of the mentions. World Diabetes Day. We go to secondary schools and regional health authority, government regional health authority there to address the public on that occasions. World AIDS Day, World Cancer Day, World TB Day, World Health Day, World Malaria Day. So like that we visit during the whole. Nowadays the things are little bit slow due to COVID, but we were more frequent, at least 3 to 4 visits in a year, as well as we address the local TV here on these days to address the public about some sort of communicable and the non-communicable diseases. Here, this is my lab, and here is our team which works in research as well as the community centers with some of the student and staff. We have a mixture of staff which belongs, some are from India, some are Trini-Indians, and some are Africans, Trini-Africans, you can say. If we compare Trinidad and India, so this is the distance in the world map. Trinidad is so little with one pharmacy college, one pharmacy school where I'm the director. There is no other pharmacy school here. So, and we only, in every store you will get the graduate of the School of Pharmacy, University of West Indies, who has opened the store or working as a pharmacist. So Trinidad is a twin island, Trinidad and Tobago. So this is Tobago, small part, which is very less developed, and this is Trinidad. And the population is 1.4 billion. The famous thing here is doubles. It is like our Chola Bhatura in northern India. Then there is a festival. Then it is famous for beaches. And this festival is Carnival, which usually happens in February. And obviously our university, University of the West Indies, Trinidad and Tobago, it is a regional university with five campuses. Our main headquarters is in the Jamaica, West Indies, and our is the second largest campus in Trinidad. We have other campuses at Barbados, Cave Hill campus, Open campus, then 5 Island campus in St. Kitts, West Indies, as well as in the Bahamas, we have one campus, Nassau. So with this information, I conclude here, and session is open for the questions, concerns, or comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Your session was really interesting on the topic natural cyclopeptides, molecules with potential bioproperties. The session was wonderful, full of information and knowledgeable ideas. Thank you for delivering a precious lecture to the participants. Now, I would like to invite our participant for question and answer session. Dear participants, now you can put your question in the chat box. Thank you. Sir, already some questions are there in chat box.
You can read out.
Okay, sir. So do you have any type of molecular docking software for peptide dynamic Also share your knowledge.
No, I'm not working on molecular software, but research can be extended toward that.
Okay, sir.
But the thing when we compare a synthetic medicinal chemist with a that is computational chemistry, molecular modeling, that is a little bit away. Sometimes we criticize that they are not going in lab and we are going in lab and doing research. But anyhow, both are successful. I have seen the occupancy and special requirement of computational chemist also. So, but idea of merging is good. But since we are not, I'm not trained toward that.
Okay.
We need a machine and then training. It is simple. We can lessen our work in laboratory. Handling of toxic chemicals, solvents, and those. You will reduce your your life to somewhat level. So it is a good idea, and it can be done. But you need the expert. Your supervisor should be expert of that. Then only you can carry out that. Or you need a multiple team to carry out PhD or postdoc, where one supervisor can be taken as synthetic medicinal chemistry and another of computational medicine chemistry area. So such type of collaborative project can be done, which will be fruitful.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Next question is from Dr. Sankareshwar. Sir, you are giving a lot of different naming for peptide. How to name your predicted peptides?
Yes, we have synthesized one peptide. Sometimes the names are not there. These names are already given. Already, these are isolated compounds whose names are given by different scientists. If you synthesize new compound in your laboratory, you can name that. I have synthesized a natural compound where the name was not given. It was like a cycloheptapeptide. I have given a name and I published the article. So it is not like those who are the researcher. My MCOM guide usually say you will definitely prepare one dianamide like that. So it can be done. There is no issue in that. But at least all protocols or procedures, those patent and those type of things, then you have to carry out to protect the work.
Thank you, sir. Next question is from Sakti Prasad Pradhan. Is there any database for natural marine drugs?
See what there is a lot of articles in the literature. You see, when you do research, you must always be expert of literature. Literature gives you answer of so many things. Like in between, I was concentrating more on synthesizing peptides. Then I revert back to the review articles, because there usually you get the information what is done by the others. And if you write a good article, that can be beneficial for many researchers, that can save their time to go on different sites, because the compiled information can be available. So like he's saying marine sponges. So there are articles like available in the literature, cyclopeptides from bioactive cyclic peptide from sponges, like that articles are available. I have written many in like heterocyclic peptides from marine organisms. So it depends upon your interest to choose. In literature, everything is there, but literature is very vast. You need to understand your research, your limitations, your availability of funds, your infrastructure and resources, and then only you can move, because it is unlimited. So what is your limit? That first you must know, and then you can go ahead. But for review article, at least several sites, abstracts are available. Then you can get better idea. Start writing from there, and then enter in the research. You can get better idea. You will not need the major role of other researcher. Then you can think yourself about your specific project.
Thank you, sir. Next question is from Dr. Sankareshwar. Sir, tell me about your solution phase preparation of peptide preparation. With simple example, it will help for our young faculties.
If you don't want to go for a cyclopeptide, which is of many steps, you can start assembling some heterocyclics. Like you can choose some heterocyclic compound which have either a free amino or free carboxyl group. Then if it has a free carboxyl, like Brufen, Brufen has a free carboxyl group. It is a compound with free, you will see the structure. So you found a compound with a free carboxyl group. You can attach different peptides, dipeptide, tripeptide, and likewise you can prepare. You can protect them at the amino terminal, carboxyl terminal, and then amino group will be free here, carboxyl. So you can attach, you can prepare different chain of compounds instead of going on lengthy procedures of cyclization to hepta, octa, or nonapeptides. That will be your starting. You can choose any of the compound which is available in your store and has a free carbo, like aspirin. Aspirin is acetyl salicylic acid. So you have a free carboxyl group. So you can attach on that using the solution phase synthesis. So you can start from there. It will be easy.
Dr. Sankareshwar, I think you got your answer. So next question is from Amar Trivedi. Sir, please explain the protection and deprotection of CBZ and TBOC.
I have shown that in the slides. Tertiary butyl oxycarbonate, that protection, that is itself is a protection by a reaction with the anhydride. You will get the one of the H get replaced by the BOC group, and if you want to deprotect it, you have to try the reaction with the trifluoroacetic acid. CBZ, I think I have written in my slide. Yeah. I have not used CBZ, it is the old technique. You can see in the literature. I think by piperidine or something, we have deprotected it. But CBZ is the, you will find in the literature, it is now commonly available.
Thank you, sir. Amar Trivedi, I think you got your answer. So this much question are there in the chat box. Any participant you are interested to give your question in the chat box or raise your hand, please. No more questions are there. Thank you so much, sir. We are overwhelmed and very much grateful to have you for this ATOL FDP. We appreciate, even though it's a late night, you gave your precious time to us. Your presentation is well received by our participant. Thank you, sir.
For India, it is we are 9 hours 30 minutes before India.
Yes, sir.
So always when their daytime will be there, night time will be there.
Night
but
time.
we can manage for few times. That's although it was the working day, so generally we keep them on Fridays or likewise, so that next Saturday is holiday, so we can sleep well. But this was odd, but it's okay. It was because my spouse is also doing lecture tomorrow, so one was feasible at the 10. So otherwise it will be more late night. So, but it was a good exposure for ourselves also. It was good exposure to you all. By these type of questions, we can think more about research. Like especially, I like the question of computational chemistry and those. So, but those are feasible with collaborations. We can think out on that by combining one or two expert supervisor or co-supervisors. But Dr. Pradhan, you have communicated. I'm thankful to you also. So, and I'm thankful to all audience and managing team for organizing the event so well. You're taking it is for 7 days, 5 days.
5 days.
5 days, and I have seen. I'm checking on my WhatsApp all the expert names, although I could not give the time for all, but I will see if any interesting topic will be there. I will go for. It is due to time limit. Time says if daytime will be there, then certainly I will try. But anyhow, thank you very much for giving me opportunity to deliver lecture at this platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, coordinator Dr. Padan, sir. Please.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Rajiv Dahiya, for speaking to our participants and exchange the recent developments. In natural cyclopolypeptides, the molecules with potential bioproperties. Thank you for your enlightening speech, and the participants who attended really enjoyed and interacted with your presentations. We really appreciate you making time in a busy schedule, and it's a I can say it's a evening or late evening. So this topic is really challenging for the researchers, and you adhere to your commitment and came here to produce some interactor over here to give some enlightened new area which will be benefited for the researchers. Thank you once again for the sharing few of the experience from your vast knowledge to the participants. So with this, we conclude this first session of the third day. Thank you, guys, and we'll be coming after 15 minutes and joining with another professor from the IIT. So looking forward at 12:15. Thank you.